Hello friends, welcome. Let us take a look at the grouping of the 6, 8, 12 houses in Krishnamurti Paddhati. This is the most feared combination or the grouping in Krishnamurti Paddhati. The houses 6, 8 and 12 are also deemed to be malefic or bad houses in the traditional Parashari astrology as well. Now, initially, I thought of collating Shri Krishnamurti's observations on 6, 8, and 12 all at one place, but I couldn't find much time. So, here is one from his book Transit. So, in the book Transit, in the last pages of this book, where Professor Krishnamurti is discussing the transit of Saturn for all the 12 signs. So he has identified in many places in that particular article, in the last pages of this book Transit, he has identified the 6, 8, 12 combination, and he has underlined them as evil or the malefic combination. But we are going to take this horoscope and we will try to assess or judge how strongly the 6, 8, 12 combination is reflected in a horoscope. What are the factors, what are the ways in finding out that how strong the 6, 8, 12 combination is in a person's chart, and what kind of damage it can do in a person's life. So let's prepare a list of our questions around the 6, 8, 12. So some of our questions are how severe it is going to be, how hard this combination when it starts manifesting in the Dasha Bhukti timeline, how hard is going to hit a person's life. Will the negative impact, 6, 8, 12 is a negative combination, but the degree of impact depends on the on how it is reflected in a person's chart. So our question could be, will the negative impact be a life-turning event? Is going to be so bad that there is no recovery from it? Or it could be just a bad DBA phase of some misfortune. And since this combination is present in the chart of a person, if we are able to identify that, then obviously the next question or one of the questions is that will it happen again? Will this combination, when it appears again in the subsequent dasha, then is going to cause the same kind of a damage? And then is there any remedy? Last but not the least is about the remedy. Now there are several ways in which the 6, 8, 12 combination can appear in a person's chart, but it's just not a guarantee that whenever you see the number 6, 8, 12, and you might be jumping in panic and would be predicting some kind of a doom for that person's horoscope. So just these numbers 6, 8, 12 appearing is not a guarantee that this combination could be a devastating combination for that person. So you have to judge at the strength of the 6, 8, 12 combination from some of these factors which you already know. These are all part of the KP rules. But the way they need to be judged is what is very significant in finding out that how bad the 6, 8, 12 combination is. So we are going to discuss the stellar strength, Then we are going to discuss the positional strength. Stellar strength, when a planet is deposited in the star of another planet, that's the basic core principle of KP. So that's the most strong representation of a planet's signification. Position means where a planet is placed. And in Krishnamurti Paddhati, whenever we are talking about the positional strength, then we are looking at the Kaspa chart. We're looking always at the Kaspa chart, not at the Lagna chart. And then the untenanted strength. This is many software, they tend to ignore or undermine this. But this is a very important and significant rule in Krishnamurti Paddhati about the untenanted strength. So I have discussed about what an untenanted planet means in Krishnamurti Paddhati. It's not difficult, it's a very easy concept. So when we discuss this horoscope, I'll explain once again. And then the sublord. Even if the combinations are bad, there has to be a kind of approval, positive or negative from the sublord. And the 6-8 combination, when it starts manifesting, then we have to look at the planet that's mainly responsible for creating this kind of a yoga, whether it is a natural malefic or a benefic. So natural malefics are the SRK&M is the Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, and Mars also. And then of course the role of the Dasha Lord, whether the Dasha Lord is helping in boosting up the 6-8-12 combination, or it's going to last throughout the Dasha, or just for the specific period of the Dasha. So all these things need to be taken into consideration when we are looking at the 6, 8, and 12 combination in a person's chart. Now, in the KP related softwares or the apps, you will find 3 or 4 different ways how the planet signification table is displayed. So let me share my own thoughts over here. We'll take the example of this Rahu. Now in many software, this flag U, which basically means untenanted. Untenanted means that there are no planet deposited in the Rahu star. If you look at this Star Lord column over here, you will not find Rahu appearing anywhere. So that means that no planet is deposited in the Rahu star. So Rahu becomes untenanted and it gains a very special strength. So all these flags where you see UU, they are all untenanted. So that's what the whole story is about, the untenanted. So untenanted, you have to keep that in mind. You can't possibly ignore the untenanted strength in Krishnamurti Paddhati. Then in some of the softwares, what they do is the signification is usually arranged in the ascending or descending order, not according to the strength. So the 2936 will rather be represented as 2369. So this is mostly a ascending order. And then here also they will put it like this, 8. And since 9 is already here, so they might sometime omit 9. Then they will just mention 10 and 12. So this is one way of doing it. Then there are some additional columns where the particular planet where it is appearing on the as the cusp sublord for a specific cusp is also mentioned, and then aspects and all those are mentioned. So aspects and all that is deemed to be a very weak kind of a strength in Krishnamurti Paddhati. And the a planet appearing as the cusp sublord is a very risky business. I have discussed this in many of my videos, that especially in the birth horoscope, where the the cusp sublord could change because of various factors, latitude, longitude, the difference in time of birth. So all these factors are there. So I personally, I that's why I don't delve into those things which are risky, and just focus on the core, the strength of the planet, the stellar, the positional. These are the main core strength. So now when we mention the strength like this, then we are trying to indicate that the a planet is more stronger at this stage compared to this, and compared to this. And obviously, we just keep these principles in mind: the stellar strength, the positional strength, the untenanted. That's already I discussed it with you. So this is very important for you to make sure that what kind of layout you are looking at. It doesn't matter. I mean, different software, they have different ways of presenting the planet's signification. So long you understand the order of strength according to the KP rule, then you are good enough. Then you can assess that how good or bad or how powerful a planet is. Let us discuss how the Rahu signification is represented over here. The first flag you means the untenanted, that I've already explained you. Now the second is the second house. The second house in the first column where it says position or the ownership. That's what this abbreviation indicates, PS and OW, position or the ownership. So the Rahu is in the second cusp. So that's why the positional strength in the cusp chart is taken, the second. This is the strongest for the column 1. And then 9. So why 9? Because Rahu is in Sagittarius. We can see this in the Lagna chart, that Rahu is in Sagittarius. So it's going to represent Jupiter. So we have to first take Jupiter's positional strength. It basically means where Jupiter is in the cusp chart. So it is in the 9th. So then we write 9 over here. And then what kind of other cusp are owned by Jupiter? So those are the 3rd and 6th. Both are empty. So then we mention 3 and 6. So Rahu's strength. This is a descending. The Rahu is in the first column is strongest in the second. And then 9, 3 and 6. Now if you look at the star lord, Ketu. Ketu is in the 8th. So that's the strongest. The 8th is the strongest. And then you can see Ketu is in Gemini in the Lagna chart. So Ketu represents Mercury. Where is Mercury? In the cusp chart, it is in the 10th. So that 10th cusp is mentioned over here. And then Mercury represents Gemini and Virgo. So if you look at both of these two cusps owned by Mercury, then you will find that the Gemini is already occupied by Moon and Jupiter. So Mercury's representation for this cusp becomes a little weaker in KP. So for this reason, the 12th cusp, which is empty, is stronger compared to the 9. So this is a good way to represent a planet's strength, and it gives you a more reliable picture of what a planet can do. And sometimes you will see a planet represents a specific cusp multiple times. That also should be taken into account. So in Jyotish portal, we are going to have that flag, where if a planet is representing a cusp multiple times, then it's going to mention in one of these columns So this is important because this gives you an idea about what kind of a focus a planet has on a specific cusp. Now let's ask our first question. Is there a yoga for a severe 6-8-12 manifestation in this chart? That's our first question. So if you look at all these planets one by one, then and if you start taking note of what Rahu is going to do in this chart. So let's discuss about Rahu. So Rahu in column 1 represents the house 6. See, it is representing 6, 8, 12, and then 8 and 12. So all these three columns that Shri Krishnamurti has mentioned in that in his article that I just mentioned in his book Transit. So this particular combination, the 6, 8, 12, is there is a hand checking in all these columns. And not only there is a hand checking, if you closely look at how strong this 6 is, so you will see that no other planet is occupying the 6th house. Rahu is representing Jupiter, and no other planet is occupying the 6th house. And on top of it, Rahu is untenanted. So it's a very strong significator of the 6th house. It's also a strong significator of all these houses, 2, 9, 3, 6, all these houses. And then and if you look at the star lord level, then you see the Rahu is a very strong significator of the 8th house because it is deposited in the star of Ketu, which is in the 8th house. And even its representation of the 12th is also very strong. You will not see that you will see that there is no other planet in the 12th cusp. So Rahu is very strongly representing the 6th house, 8th house, and the 12th house. This is more than a usual kind of strength. This is a pretty bad, very bad, strongly, a very strong bad combination, I would say. And I've already explained you the reason that how you can make sure that this is a very bad combination. And top of it, Rahu is also a malefic planet. So all these factors come together to uh, to help you make sure that yes, this is a almost a grade kind of a bad yoga for 6, 8, 12. Now, if you look at the Rahu signification, it also indicates 2, 6, and 10. Right? It's this also is indicated that 2, 6, and 10. So the 2, 6, 10 is also there, and the 6, 8, 12 is there. And if you start comparing the 2, 6, 10 with the 6, 8, 12, so you will see they go hand in hand, but still the 6, 8, 12 is stronger than the 2, 6, 10. So it doesn't mean that the 2, 6, 10 is going to cancel the 6, 8, 12. According to Krishnamurti Paddhati, both things are going to happen. The 2, 6, 10, which is a good combination, is also going to manifest during the Rahu period or the sub period. And similarly, the 6, 8, 12 combination is also going to manifest. Now, in this person's chart, just prior to Rahu, if you look at the Mars, so this person had a very bad time during the Venus Dasha and the Rahu Antardasha sub period or the Rahu Bhukti. So this person went through a series of extremely bad misfortune. So this is typically the 6, 8, 12 manifestation that was happening in his chart. So during Rahu and Mars Dasha, he acquired a business. This was done through merger and acquisition. This was quite a big kind of an acquisition. And Mars is representing the 10th house, 7th house, So Mars is very strongly connected with the 7 and 10. 7 and 10 indicates the business partnership, those kind of a thing. So prior to Mars, this person was in a service and he was in a good position. But when the Venus Mars started, then he got the opportunity to leave the service and he acquired a business. Mars gives you the strength in Krishnamurti Paddhati. Sometimes this question is there whether I should be doing service or I should be doing business. So the typical KP rule is the Mars has to be there because it gives you the strength. Seventh house has to be there because that represents business. Seventh house has to do something with the 10th house, which is the house of profession. And then Mercury has to be there. The Mercury is the planet of Karak for the business. So during Venus Mars period, he was able to acquire the business. And if you look at the other combination like 9 and 5, then you know that there is going to be a change in the professional career. That's what the 9-5 indicates. So the Venus Mars gives a good clear picture of what was there in store for this person's chart during the Venus Mars. Now in the Venus Rahu Dasha, so he acquired a lot of other investment, debts, and so basically there was a good inflow of money, and I'm pretty sure this was happening because of the second and the sixth house. They are all very strong. This is not a level 1 kind of a strength. This because of Rahu being untenanted, this almost becomes the one of the strongest signification. So the 2-6 helped him a lot of inflow of other investments and debts and money from the bank, those kind of a thing. But hidden in this combination was the bad punch, the 6-8-12. And so suddenly at one point it started manifesting. And there were secret inimical activities. And then there was a split. Then there were a litigation. So everything that goes bad during the 6-8-12, that means it starts creating misfortune and a troubling time for the person. There is a loss of prestige, deception, litigation, and then the pressure from the creditors also starts mounting. So the Venus Rahu period started seeing both the things. Initially, it saw some more investment, and then the 6-8-12 when it started manifesting, then the whole thing became a nightmare for this person. Normally, when 6-8-12 period become active, and especially if it is a bad period, then it's going to affect a person's life in more than one ways. It can affect person's health also. It can affect the married life also, family life. And of course, it's going to affect the financial and the career. So all these various spheres of life, they are affected by the 6, 8, and 12. So during Venus and Rahu period, this was a very bad period. Now let's look at the role of the Dasha, the Mahadasha. If you look at Venus, so you will see that Venus is also representing the 6, 8, and 12. And Venus is also untenanted. Venus is also very powerful. So it's representing 8 and 12 and the 6. And apart from that, Venus is also representing the 10th house strongly. The second house, 6th house, and the 10th house. So Mahadasha also indicates the Venus Mahadasha that during Venus period, this person should be getting some good opportunities in his career or in his professional life. And that's what Venus did in creating this whole new acquisition, new partnership. But at the same time, the Dasha also had this bad combination of 6-8-12. So the Dasha, the 6, 8, 12 from the Dasha and the 6, 8, 12 from the Rahu, both untenanted. When they all became active, that was a period of intense activity. There was sudden, uprising when the acquisition happened, and celebrations were rapidly arranged. But then it all went on the in the hot waters. Now let's look at the another question. The whether the any recovery from the bad period. Recovery from the bad period. So for this you have to look at the subsequent period, because the Rahu we have already seen is bad. So within Rahu there is not much recovery. For the recovery, there is a rule in the same book, the Transit, where Shri KSK has mentioned about the let me quote this is this is what Shri KSK has mentioned. So when you read this particular article in that book, you will have a better context about this particular statement from Shri Krishnamurti. But the idea is that there has to be an appearance or the role of the 11th house in if a person has to recover or regain or has relief from a bad phase. So in this light, let's take a look at uh, the subsequent period after the Rahu. Now Jupiter is there. So Jupiter you see is indicating 610. That's fine. But at the same time, it is also indicating the 6th house, 12th house, and 8th house. And if you closely analyze Jupiter, it's not as bad as Rahu, but it is bad. So you know that Jupiter period is not going to bring any relief. Shri KSK in this article has only mentioned about the 11th house, but if 6, 8, 12 has done the damage, then the relief for the good period, you need 6, 10, 11, those kind of a very strong signification of 6, 10, and 11. Whatever damage the 6, 8, 12 has done, then this combination 6, 8, 6, 10, 11 or 2, 10, 11, which are deemed to be a good combination in Krishnamurti Paddhati, they have to strongly reflect in the subsequent dasha. Otherwise, the whatever damage has been done is done for good. There is no recovery. Or even if there is a recovery, it's not going to match the kind of damage that has been done. So keeping this thing in mind, that this person now needs a very strong representation of 6, 10, 11 or 2, 10, 11 without a bad shadow of the 8 and 12, then only this person will be able to have a recovery from the bad phase. So after the Rahu, Venus Rahu, then the Jupiter period, and in the Jupiter period you can see that Jupiter also indicates the 6th house, the 12th house, 8th house, and the first house. So why the first and 8 along with the 6 and 12 is bad? Because this also starts affecting a person's health. Fortunately, in the column 1, Jupiter is just owner of the cusp, and it doesn't have any positional strength. But you can safely predict that when the Jupiter period starts, then the person will definitely have some concerns about the health, because the Venus is also untenanted, and of course for the Libra ascendant, Venus anyway becomes by default it becomes the ruler of the first and the 8th house, but you can see that Venus is also untenanted. So at the sublord level, it has some extra strength in terms of representing 1 and 8. Then the Saturn period, if you look at the Saturn period, it is dotted with 5, 9, and 5. So I did a video with the title "The Nowhere Man." So the idea about the nowhere man in Krishnamurti Paddhati is when the 5-9 combination becomes too prominent in a person chart, that is the period when a person becomes a kind of a nowhere man, means he doesn't have any fixed ideas in life. He doesn't know what exactly need to be done. There is a lack of opportunity. So during the Venus Saturn period, this is what might have happened. Then the Venus Mercury period also looks good compared to the whatever happened in Rahu period. But the lack of the 11th house you can see is there. So an 11th house is very important in the Krishnamurti Paddhati. Now after the Venus Dasha, then the Sun period. Now if you look at Sun is very strongly connected with the 11th house. So 10th and 11th both are there. So, and Sun is also untenanted. So this you can safely say that the the Sun Dasha would help him regain some of the lost position and some of the lost status. But like I mentioned, the 11th house still needs some support from the second house and the sixth house, because Rahu has been very bad, the kind of damage it did. So it needs that kind of a matching good grouping. So Sun is good, but it's still lacking in terms of its good strength compared to the bad strength of the Rahu. But one can say that yeah, the Sun Dasha things are going to change and one is going to recover. See, when the person goes through a very critical and bad phase, and then there is a loss of prestige, loss of friends, ill repute, then they want to prove themselves again in life. And this is one of the questions that might come to you, that will I be able to regain the lost position and be able uh, to be uh, to gain the status or be as strong as uh, positively as I was. So then you have to compare. You'll have to look at the future dashas, and then you have to keep on comparing with the Rahu. Rahu becomes the benchmark in the dasha period from where the bad phase started. And then you have to kind of look whether the decline is going to happen consistently or there are good phases which that can help the person uh, rise again. And then the moon is not as strong as the sun period. So now that brings us to our next question, and that is about repeat. Repeat basically means if the Rahu is indicating a bad combination. Obviously, in the subsequent Dasha, the Rahu's sub-period is going to appear again. So is are those periods going to create the same kind of a damage or not? So obviously, every time Rahu comes, there is going to create some trouble during that period. But as we saw that the Venus was really bad, the Venus Dasha, the Dashanath was itself bad. So it also aided Rahu. But the subsequent Mahadasha like Sun and Moon, you don't find them very strongly connected with the 6, 8, 12. So they're going to take a lot of heat out of the Rahu, because Rahu is not going to get that kind of a support from the Dashana. Because this is one of the questions that will usually come to you. That will this combination, will this particular planet's forthcoming or the subsequent period going to create a havoc again or not? Now comes the question about the remedy. In this horoscope, when this horoscope came to me, and this question of remedy also came to me. So, and when I looked at this Saturn, you see the Saturn is there on the cusp, both in the Lagna also and in the the Lagna chart and in the Kaspa chart. And Libra people are very nice people, they are Venus ruled people, and the moon is also in the 10th house. So you know that this person is fairly ambitious in terms of the profession or career. It's just obvious, so many planets in the 10th house. So it gives that kind of a temperament. You don't have to look at the ascendant sublord and all that. That doesn't work. Simple, plain, old Parashari system helps in assessing a person's nature. So Libra ascendant, moon in the 10th, and I'm talking about the Lagna chart over here. So it indicates that the person is of a good, amiable, friendly nature. But the presence of Saturn in the ascendant is not good. Saturn usually tend to make a person little bit of stupid in terms of taking some executive decision. So I am of very strong opinion, and I have seen many charts where if there is Saturn in the ascendant, then that person should not be allowed to make any executive decision. That power should be taken. And the bad phase in this person chart happened because all the executive decision this person was making, and they were failing one after another, and it was all happening because of this Saturn in the ascendant. But the thing is that he wouldn't listen to anyone. See that the when you have that power, so you get that pleasure of being a CEO, or you are at the at the head of a business. So that kind of a pleasure is there. So people usually they don't tend to compromise on that, and that's what happened in this with this Saturn also. And I really don't recommend or try to refrain from recommending any gemstones because I'm not sure about the gemstones. And I've seen not many times they prove to be very risky, and nobody actually knows the right way how to recommend the gemstone. So I want to I want to take a very matter of fact approach in sometime in suggesting the remedies. Not all the time you have to wear gemstones and go after lal kitabs and things like that. Sometimes plain simple advices that experts offer that are sufficient enough. So in this case, and I wish uh, that this person should have given his executive power and not being involved in the decision making. So that's the first thing. Saturn in the cusp. All these malefic planets in the cusp, they tend to somehow, I would say, influence a person's mind in ways that it creates some damage in their life. So that was the first thing, and he didn't do it. He didn't obviously heed to my advice because these kind of advice, that you should not be making any decisions and you should be allowing other persons to make the final decision. These are tend to be very trivial kind of remedy from an astrologer. They expect some tantra mantra, jadoo, tona, lal kitab, those kind of stuff. And this person was also in touch with someone in Varanasi and getting all these things done. I like if persons are doing mantra and all that, but you can't possibly outsource the mantra. You can't possibly hire someone and do mantra on your behalf. This thing I am unable to digest. If a person is suffering, then he or she has to take the medicine. He can't possibly outsource this whole exercise to someone else. So I told him about the mantra or the navgraha. I think he did that, but like I mentioned, he just outsourced the whole thing to someone in Varanasi. So nothing happened, nothing helped him, and he has to go through a really bad phase in his life. So that's all in this video, and I hope you enjoyed watching it.